Congratulations! You are hired for a night shift cement mixer truck driver to deliver a full load of quickset industrial concrete from the River Rouge batch plant to a designated drop site in the abandoned neighborhoods of Brightmoor, Detroit. Your job is to reach the destination before 4 a.m. and you must follow the 10 rules. Especially rule number 8. If you break it, you will not see the morning. Rule number 1. Once you leave the batch plant, you must never let the mixing drum stop rotating until you reach the pour site. The sound of the churning aggregate and the grinding motor creates a specific vibration. This vibration acts as a barrier. There are things sleeping in the overgrown lots of the suburbs that are attracted to silence. If your drum stops spinning while you are idling at a red light in the dead zone, they will think the truck is a carcass, and they will come to scavenge the meat inside the cab. Keep the RPMs high. Rule number 2. Your route will take you past the old Packard plant. You will see a woman standing under the broken sky bridge wearing a pristine 1950s Sunday dress. She will look like she is lost and crying. Do not look at her face. Do not slow down. She is not a woman. She is a lure created by the ruins to stop vehicles. If you make eye contact, the engine of your truck will die instantly. Keep your eyes on the asphalt and pray she doesn't start running alongside the door. Rule number 3. When you enter the residential zones where the streetlights have been dead for a decade, you might hear a thumping sound coming from inside your mixing drum. It will sound like a heavy body hitting the steel walls, trying to get out. It will sound like screaming muffled by wet mud. Do not investigate. Sometimes, the shadows get scooped up into the hopper at the yard. If you open the inspection hatch to check, you let it out. Just let it mix with the concrete. It will become part of the foundation. Rule number 4. You must keep your windows rolled up tight, no matter how hot the cab gets. The air in these abandoned suburbs changes after 2 a.m. It becomes thick, smelling of sulfur and rotting meat. This is a spore cloud released by the overgrown vegetation that has consumed the houses. If you breathe it in, you will start to hallucinate that the road is made of skin. You will drive off the road into a basement pit, and you will never be found. Use the recirculate button on your AC. Rule number 5. If your GPS suddenly reroutes you to a street named Charred Oak Drive, turn the device off immediately and throw it on the floor. There is no Charred Oak Drive in Detroit. That is a digital trap. If you follow that route, you will drive into a looped reality where the fire of 1967 never ended. You will burn alive in your cab while the neighbors watch from their porches. Stick to the physical map provided in the glove box. Rule number 6. You are pouring a foundation, which means you are filling a hole in the ground. When you back the truck up to the site, check your mirrors. If you see figures standing around the hole holding shovels, do not exit the truck. These are the spectral workers who died building this city. They are jealous of the living. Flash your high beams 3 times. If they vanish, proceed. If they turn and look at you with hollow black eyes, abort the job and drive away in reverse. Do not turn your back on them. Rule number 7. The radio in the truck is set to static for a reason. Do not tune it to a music station. The static acts as white noise to drown out the whispers. If the static suddenly cuts out and a deep, guttural voice starts reading a list of names, listen carefully. If you hear your own name, you have exactly 60 seconds to leave the perimeter of the truck. Hide in the bushes. Wait until the truck stops shaking. If you stay in the cab after your name is called, the metal will crush inwards like a soda can. Rule number 8. This is the most critical rule. While you are pouring the concrete down the chute, if the flow clogs, you must never, under any circumstances, reach your hand or a tool into the chute to clear it if the blockage pulses. Sometimes, the concrete mixes with the necrotic soil of Detroit and forms the mud men. These are reanimated corpses of clay and lime. If the chute clogs and you see grey fingers clawing at the metal lip, cut the hydraulic line and run. If you try to clear it, the mudmen will grab you. They possess the strength of hydraulic presses. They will pull you into the drum, grind you into the mix, and pour you out as part of the slab. You will be alive while you harden into stone. Rule number 9. After the pour is finished, wash out your chute immediately, but do not look at the pattern the water makes on the ground. The runoff will try to form words or faces of people you love who have died. It is a psychological trick to make you stay longer than necessary. The moment the concrete leaves the truck, the land wants it back. Wash the chute, look at the sky, and get back in the driver's seat. Do not read the water. Rule number 10. When you return to the depot, park the truck in Bay 4. Leave the keys on the seat. Do not speak to the night watchman. The real night watchman goes home at midnight. The thing sitting in the booth at 4:30 a.m. wearing his uniform has too many teeth and skin that fits too loosely. Just nod, get in your personal car, and drive until you see the sunrise. If he asks you how the pour went, do not answer. If you speak to him, you accept the next shift, and you will never be able to quit. The man who had the route before you was named Elias. He was a good driver, a heavyset guy who had been pushing concrete for 30 years. He wasn't the type to believe in ghost stories or urban legends. He believed in overtime pay and the power of a diesel engine. That was his first mistake. The skepticism didn't protect him, it just made him careless. It was a Tuesday night, unseasonably cold for October in Michigan. The fog was rolling off the Detroit River, thick and oily, covering the potholes and the shattered glass on the roads. Elias had picked up his load from the River Rouge plant just after midnight. He checked the manifest. One full load, 10 yards of high-strength mix, destination. A dead-end cul-de-sac deep in the Brightmoor district, where nature had reclaimed the block so aggressively that trees grew through the roofs of collapsed bungalows. He started the drive, the massive drum behind him groaning as it turned. He followed the first few rules out of habit rather than fear. He kept the drum spinning because that's just how you keep concrete from setting. He ignored the woman near the Packard plant because he thought she was just a junkie looking for a score. He didn't even notice the radio static because he preferred the silence of his own thoughts. The trouble started when he reached the drop site. It was an open lot surrounded by burnt-out timber frames. In the center was a freshly dug hole, perfectly square, deep and dark. Elias backed the truck in, the reverse beeper echoing loudly in the absolute silence of the abandoned neighborhood. He lined up the chute, hopped out of the cab, and began the pour. The wet grey slop began to slide down the metal chute, splashing into the dark earth below. Elias stood by the controls at the rear of the truck, watching the flow. He was tired. He just wanted to dump the load and get home to his warm bed. Everything was going smooth until the tank was about half empty. That was when the sound changed. The rhythmic grinding of the stones inside the drum shifted. It became a wet, slapping sound. Thwack, 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 like raw meat hitting a butcher's block. Elias frowned and adjusted the throttle, thinking the mix was too dry. He added water. The sound didn't stop. Then, the flow stopped. The chute clogged. Elias cursed, wiping his greasy hands on his pants. He looked at the chute. A large, grey lump was wedged in the neck of the funnel, blocking the concrete from sliding out. He remembered the rule sheet he had crumpled up in his pocket. Rule number 8. If the chute clogs, do not clear it if the blockage pulses. Elias leaned in closer. The work light on the back of the truck flickered, casting long, twitching shadows against the surrounding trees. The lump in the chute looked like a ball of hardened clay. It wasn't pulsing. It was just a rock, he told himself. Just a clump of aggregate that hadn't mixed right. He was losing money every minute he stood there. If he didn't clear it, the concrete inside the drum would harden, ruining the truck. The company would dock his pay for the damage. He couldn't afford that. Stupid superstition, he muttered to himself. Elias grabbed the shovel mounted on the side of the truck. He stepped up onto the small ladder platform to get better leverage. He raised the shovel to jab at the blockage. Just as the metal tip of the shovel touched the grey lump, the lump moved. It didn't crumble like dry dirt. It shivered. Elias froze. The hair on his arms stood up. He watched as the grey sludge shifted, twisting and elongating. A distinct shape formed in the wet cement. It was a hand. A human hand, but oversized, with fingers that were too long and joints that bent backward. The skin was the same color and texture as the concrete, rough and grey. The hand clamped onto the edge of the chute. Elias gasped and dropped the shovel. It clattered against the metal. He tried to step back down the ladder, but his boot slipped on the slick metal grating. From the depths of the chute, a head emerged. It was a mudman. Its face was a featureless mask of wet slurry, except for a gaping hole where a mouth should be. It had no eyes, but it turned directly toward Elias. He remembered the rest of Rule 8 now. They possessed the strength of hydraulic presses. The creature lunged with impossible speed. Its wet, heavy hand shot out and grabbed Elias by the ankle. The grip was crushing. Elias felt the bones in his leg grind together. He screamed, a sound that was immediately swallowed by the heavy fog of the neighborhood. He kicked at the creature with his free boot, slamming his heel into the wet clay of its face. The boot just sank into the muck, stuck fast. The creature pulled. Elias grabbed the safety railing of the truck, his knuckles white. "Help!" he screamed, though he knew no one was coming. The nearest living person was miles away. The mudman pulled harder, dragging Elias toward the mouth of the chute. The creature wasn't trying to pull him down to the ground. It was trying to pull him up, into the chute, back into the spinning drum. Elias felt his fingers slipping from the railing. The creature's strength was relentless, mechanical. It was the weight of the earth itself. He was dragged up the chute, scraping his chest against the rough metal. The smell was overpowering, lime, rot, and old blood. He stared into the dark opening of the mixing drum. Inside, he could see other shapes tumbling in the grey darkness. Limbs, tormented faces molded into the concrete. They were the drivers who had come before him. "No, please," Elias begged. The mudman didn't care. It hauled him over the lip. Elias tumbled into the spinning darkness. The world became a violent centrifuge of crushing weight and suffocating wetness. He tried to swim through the heavy concrete, but it was too thick. It filled his mouth, his nose, his ears. The aggregate stones battered his body, breaking ribs and snapping limbs. Outside, the truck continued to run. The drum continued to spin. The blockage cleared itself as Elias was pulled in. The concrete began to flow again, pouring out into the foundation hole. But the texture had changed. The concrete pouring out now had a reddish tint. It was lumpy and uneven. The truck finished its cycle. The drum emptied. Elias was gone. Or rather, he was everywhere. He was spread across the 20-foot square of the foundation. He was the floor of the basement. He was the support for the house that would never be built. The next morning, the site manager arrived to inspect the pour. He found the truck idling, out of gas, the engine dead. The driver's door was open. Elias's lunchbox was still on the passenger seat. The manager walked over to the fresh foundation. It had set perfectly, hard as iron. But there was something wrong with the surface. In the center of the slab, raised slightly in the hardened stone, was the impression of a face. It was twisted in a silent scream, eyes wide with terror. And reaching up from the concrete, frozen in stone, was a single hand, grasping at the air, as if trying to pull itself out of the earth. The manager didn't call the police. He didn't call the family. He simply took a sledgehammer from his truck and smashed the stone face until it was nothing but dust. Then he called the agency. "We need another driver," he said into the phone. "Night shift. Detroit run. Tell him to read the rules. And that is why you are here tonight. The truck has been cleaned. The tank has been refilled. The route is set. Just remember rule number 8. If the chute clogs, let it be. Some foundations require sacrifice, but it doesn't have to be you. Good luck. Drive safe. And don't stop spinning."